I'm Grady.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Charisse.
And welcome to Highlights, a show where we recap something like it's sports, even though it's not. This season we are covering All-Star 6, and this week we are going to look at last week's episode, drag race news from the past week, and looking at all of the contestant stats going into the grand finale of All-Star 6. Last week's episode was the Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent monologues. The queens were tasked with coming up with a story on stage and sharing it in a monologue format and displaying their vulnerability to the judges. What did you guys think of this challenge?
I thought this was a really cool challenge. I think a couple of them got it like on the nail. They did it really well. A couple of them, Trinity's wasn't that strong. Like hers was funny, but didn't really show a lot of vulnerability. Raja's, I could barely remember. I had to ask what hers was about. And not to say that it wasn't good, it just wasn't memorable to me. I think all of them were good overall. I just think at this point, if you don't absolutely stand out, then it's like that whole thing if you're not in the top, you're in the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The one thing that I wrote down was, I like that it was a real life story and not supposed to be like a stand-up routine, or it didn't have to be this that you had to write from scratch. It's literally a story that you already have in your memory bank. You don't have that part as homework in this challenge. This should be easy, quote unquote, easy for every single person to find a story that they can recall and that they can tell well enough to evoke an emotion, right? And to get the audience to bond with them, because that's what this challenge is about. Part of being RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, you know what I mean? Being the winner is relating to people, and you're going to be meeting people and doing all of these meet and greets and stuff. You have to be able to be relatable.
What set Ginger's apart from Eureka's was that hers, while it was very, very good, it just seems so rehearsed and so unrelatable, because it was so...
I didn't like it.
Because it was so polished and to an extent unbelievable. That it's not
even in rehearsal.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm so glad that if that was her experience, that's wonderful. But I think the judges even said I wish that could be the experience for everybody, but so more often than not it's not. So it's going to be really hard to relate to that story.
I mean, I might be biased at this point, but I think my favorite was Kylie's, just because I got the vibe that it was just legitimately a story she likes to tell. And it's a real story for her. She had fun telling it, and that's really all she focused on, was just telling the story.
I liked it that it was it's like she was sitting down and telling her friend a really good story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like you're sharing this story with your good friend and why this is an important story. And whether or not she intended it to be that way, it worked.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal.
And
Hers is also probably one of my favorite stories, just because
sure.
it was so vulnerable, it was so true. Not that Ginger's wasn't true, but it was just so much. It was so much more raw. I will say that I think what made Eureka's good is that she painted a very vivid picture, so it was very easy to picture the story as she was telling it. She is a very good storyteller. Right. If she gets anything, she gets it. She's a very good storyteller. I saw it as a movie in my head as she was telling it.
Yeah. RuPaul guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel twice this past week and had Simone on as one of the guests. the first time they've crossed paths since the finale. And they talked about Simone winning the season. Simone was also recently signed for a modeling contract as well. And she was on the cover of Interview magazine and all of these other big things that she's been doing. So they talked a lot about that. She shared her ambitions on building her own empire, similar to me. But I think she's also being diligent about keeping her name good with the brand. I think she likes being part of the Drag Race brand. And I think RuPaul likes having Simone as part of the Drag Race brand. I think RuPaul sees a lot of herself in Simone. VH1 announced their season renewals of all of their shows and programming for the upcoming year, and it of course included season 14 of Drag Race, so it will again be on VH1. And they also renewed Secret Celebrity Drag Race, which aired 2 years ago now, almost. But they did not film a new season during the pandemic. Okay, scoreboard. But Silky Nutmeg Ganache lost her lip sync with Eureka and came in 6th place after initially being in 11th, pushing all of those other queens back 1 place. And then Trinity K. Bonet took 5th place last week, which was Eureka's original spot. Our top 4 is Ginger Minj, Raj O'Hara, Kylie Sonique Love, and Eureka. However, Kylie still has only won 1 challenge. Eureka has only won 1 challenge, where Raja and Ginger have both won 2. So that's how we go into the finale in terms of stats.
So when I tweeted both Ginger and Kylie because I couldn't really decide between the two. But I'm really on the fence between Ginger and Kylie. I think they both have performed very, very well, but there's just an authenticity to Kylie that's just, it's so moving, and I really like that and appreciate it. But like, there's also that feeling of like that Ginger has like, not that Kylie hasn't worked so hard to get here, because she obviously has, and she's been through like the development and like the personal work, and she's put in the blood, sweat, and tears. But so has Ginger. Like, and Ginger's been through this now 3 times, so it's kind of like, how do you make that choice? But Ginger has this thing where she's like, it's a little too polished, so it's almost like unrelatable.
I guess for me, I feel like Kylie would benefit so much more than Ginger would. Well, not that Ginger wouldn't benefit from it, but I feel like Ginger already like works all the time, does a lot of big projects a lot, is one of the favorite queens of like all time for that brand. Mm-hmm. Where Kylie has really been under the radar, and I don't think gets as much work as a queen as some of the others. But if she won, and like Trixie Mattel herself, could be really game changing for her, and part of me just really wants that for her.
The other side of that is not only would Kylie benefit, I truly believe that drag itself would benefit if Kylie won.
I do too. It would be a really big deal because she would be the first trans queen for the brand to win. To a certain degree, I'm wondering if they're having conversations like that about what the smarter move is in terms of selecting the winner, because they do get very good about that stuff too.
See, and but that kind of stuff is upsetting, because then it should be the person that's going to elevate the art to where it should be. You know, like I had this same dilemma since we're rewatching older seasons with Kimchi versus Bob the Drag Queen. I think if Kimchi had won, I love Bob the Drag Queen, do not get me wrong, I think she's fabulous. But if Kimchi had won, drag would be completely different.
So I understand the conversation that you're having, don't get me wrong. I understand it. As a fan? Okay, so...
Sorry, I was been waiting to get that off my chest for a while.
No, it's okay. As a fan, I build my imaginary relationships with each queen. Like, they're talking to me in their little untucked and in all their little stuff, right? So my favorite queen to talk to, right, is Kylie right now.
Yeah.
I also really like talking to Raja, right? As far as like relatability and stuff, right? It's not that I don't like Ginger and stuff, but and here's the thing, I don't even think about it in terms of like, oh, a big girl should win. Oh, a comedy queen should win. Oh, this one should win. I'm not saying that
that's
each
all
one
very surface level.
It is, and I'm not saying that each one shouldn't get their turn, right? Like as far as like building a brand and all that kind of stuff. In the conversation you were having earlier. If Kylie was doing something, I would show up. So if Eureka was, I'm not so sure that I would necessarily like get my introverted self off the couch to go see that. If Ginger was going to be close by, I don't know that I would necessarily get my introverted self off the couch to go see that. If Raja was, I might consider it. But like I said, if Kylie was going to be in town close by, I'd be like, hey, I need a ride. Let's go. Who's coming with me?
I would too.
So, like, as a fan, that's how I base my decision on, like, who I want to win.
Yeah, I guess if you put it that way, then it would shift a little bit, because I probably wouldn't get up to go see Ginger.
and all of, and I'm
but
sorry.
I would get up to go see Raja and Kylie.
And as I dragged them all, just now, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to, like, chip away at their absolutely special uniqueness and, like, legendary queen status already. Ginger Minch has been on RuPaul's Drag Race 3 times, for goodness sake, right? Like, that is something.
Yeah.
They are all someone in their own right. They've made it to top 4. Holy crap, world, watch out.
Yeah.
I'm speaking strictly as a fan who doesn't pay anyone, who doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, that's, yeah, they're all great. I'm just saying, you know, if I was going to buy a ticket and get off the couch.
Well, I guess we'll find out, because this week is the grand finale. They are going to be recording and performing a new song, RuPaul's new single, This Is Our Country. But yeah, there you have it. We're all caught up and ready to go into this week's episode. As always,
thank you for watching highlights.
And we'll see you next week.